Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Homeschool Well Podcast with Jenny and Kim.
Hi, welcome.
And it's August of 2026. All month we're giving you great advice, awesome, stellar, amazing advice about how to choose curriculum. The last two we've done are reading and math. And this week we're moving on to writing, how to choose the writing curriculum that's best for your family and your children. And the problem with writing is that it can be very intimidating to teach, especially to moms who've had no experience teaching. I was just thinking that when I was a teacher, I had kids who had unique abilities and they were all significantly below grade level. So I didn't really stress about writing because I knew how bad it could be. Does that make sense? Like even Wyatt, he was horrible, and I'll talk about that after a while, how I modified with his like fine motor skills with writing. But I didn't stress about it too much because I had that exposure to kids who just honestly would, it was just, some of them was just so difficult, and it was just like they were never going to be successful at writing. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. A lot of you homeschool moms, you don't have that. Right? You've never been exposed to so many different writers in your world. And so you think, oh my goodness, people are writing essays. Children are writing essays. Should my child be writing essays? No. Okay. Listen, if you like met a third grader that's writing essays and making their own books, that just means that that's their natural gift. You just can't help comparing, even if you have multiple children, your kids to one another. And maybe one of them is gifted in writing, and so you think all your other ones should have that skill as well. Also throw in grammar, and you can get yourself in a panic. Oh my goodness, should they be writing a sentence that doesn't even make sense and is grammatically like totally wrong? That's not right. I can't let them continue to practice like this, or it will like ruin their life forever, because you hear that term perfect practice all the time, right? In writing, it's a little bit different. Also, we want to bring up the word copy work. You might not even know what that is, but if you know what it is, it's in the Charlotte Mason method. If you know what it is and you use it, that might also be something that kind of throws you for a loop, and you wonder, are they doing enough copy work? Is it the right level? How do I grade it? We hear that a lot from homeschool moms. How do I grade writing? And moms of older kids, how do I grade an essay? That kind of thing. Maybe you don't feel confident giving feedback, right? And then also, why is it sometimes so hard to get a kid to write? And what can you do about it? Is there a problem solver? Is there a troubleshooting method, some kind of modification that you can use with your kids who just don't like to write for whatever reason? We want to just tell you that writing develops very differently than reading and math. And so when you are choosing a writing curriculum, you can be stuck in those boxes, right? Of this is what it looks like, learning facts or learning rules about reading, and writing should be the same way, but it's different. And so when you're choosing a curriculum, it can be overwhelming to get into that mindset of how writing develops in its own unique way. We just want to encourage you today that writing is a journey. It's frankly a beautiful journey. I love nothing more than a big bunch of journals that I'm never going to get rid of that are up in my closet. I just looked at them yesterday. But
your journals.
Yes, they just show the journey. You know what I mean? Like it's not a race. And when we were teachers, when Jenny and I were teachers, writing was all about, like writing proficiently was all about the magic 4th grade writing test. Right? And if and if your student could not write a structured paragraph the way that we taught it, we had to teach it the certain way by 4th grade, put the brakes on, there's a problem. But you know what? You're in this beautiful homeschool journey where writing can be just that. It can be a creative journey that is life-giving to a child because it empowers their ability to tell their stories.
Yes.
And it's so sad that holding the pencil or the writing, instrument, whatever it is, gets in the way sometimes, or, the structure and the rules get in the way of them getting the story that God gave them in their mind out. Yeah. That's an encouragement right there, that there's something called oral composition. We'll talk about that more in the tips, but just being able to compose is a gift that God gave us. And God is developing your child's voice, their creativity, their ability to communicate over many years. Think about how long it took them to learn to speak, right? So you're never going to find one single curriculum that puts you to this like target goal of, oh, they're at the end. They know how to write. They're constantly developing it.
It's true.
Our job isn't to create perfect writers overnight or even over one school year. I should say that. It's to faithfully nurture steady growth.
And we want to share a scripture with you, and it's from Hebrews 10:24. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. When we think about that, it's about faith and all of that too from the Bible, but we can put that into everyday homeschool talk too with our kids. Like, how do we motivate our kids in a loving way to do the job that God has put in them, to get their voice out that God has put in them, all of that. That's a really great verse to share with this, because we want to celebrate progress instead of perfection with them, and we want to just be able to motivate them to do their best. Every sentence your child writes is just another opportunity for them to grow.
That's beautiful. Well, it's making me think of the opposite. The red pen grading? Like
yes.
Yes, that can be so, what is motivating your child to keep going if they know they're going to give you a piece of paper that you're going to say, this is wrong, that's wrong, this is wrong, that's wrong, go fix it. There's something wrong with it. Like, there's something wrong with your voice and the way that you're writing things. Like, I just, I can't, I've never been that kind of grader. If I didn't have to be, when it comes to copy work, you have to do that a little bit, but still, I'd like to always to add up points instead of subtracting. So, and actually, I'm just going into the practical tips right now.
Yeah, there we go.
That can be the first one. We didn't talk about this before, Jenny, but when you're grading writing, if you're doing something like copy work, once a week, I would grade one of their copy work assignments. I didn't grade it all the time, okay? And copy work, if you don't know, is them literally looking at a sentence, maybe it's just a word on a page, and then they copy it onto their paper exactly how it looks. Then you compare the original with how they wrote it. And so I always did pluses, and I still do this with kids that I tutor. Instead of like, oh, this one's wrong, that one's wrong, I do, oh, let's see how many points you got. And if they didn't get a lot of points, you can use that same sentence or word again when you're doing copy work, have them do it again because you've taught them what they did wrong, right? You're looking at all the points they got, you're looking at the mistakes they made, you're teaching them how to do it better next time, and then you give them the exact same selection again, they do the copy work again, you add up all the things they got correct, and they see if they beat their points. I always like to keep it on the positive, even the color green marker, instead of red all over the page. Maybe there's some subconscious thing that happened to me when I was at school.
I don't know, but I never, when I had to give spelling tests and stuff at school, I purposely never used red marker.
Yes.
I might use pink, or I might use purple, or I used all different colors, but I never used red because I just thought it looked so angry.
Yeah, it's like the nature of traditional schooling, I guess.
Yeah.
And then putting the plus on there instead of minus kind of thing.
Right. And the purpose of copy work in writing is so students can notice conventions of print, be able to spell words correctly, right?
Yeah.
Be able to use capitals, periods, punctuation, spacing, and all the while they're noticing this, they're copying down like beautiful works of literature or Bible verses, or you know what I mean?
Meaningful selections to them. Yeah.
Yes.
Lyrics to maybe a song that they're trying to memorize. That kind of thing. And people think it's busy work and it doesn't mean anything, but it's actually super powerful if you use it the right way. You don't just have them, okay, sit down, do your copy work, and then you ignore the back end. Like when they're done with it, that's when they teach. Yeah, that's the teachable moments that come in. And you can even teach them how to do it. So they're comparing, they're using the marker, they're using the pluses. And then the next step from that, there's this progression that we're talking about right now, is copy work to narration. So narration is when a child will tell you what you just read to them. So you've read them a selection from this part of a story, like a paragraph if they're really young, maybe a whole page as they get older, maybe a couple pages, in high school level, or, you're still doing read alouds. And actually, that's real, because the family I evaluated yesterday, family of 3, they have from middle school to high school, and they were teasing the high schooler about how he always comes in when it's time for the middle schoolers to do their read aloud with mom. He doesn't have to sit there and listen, but he does because he enjoys it. So anyway, reading stories aloud to your children, it's always powerful, no matter what age that they are. And then to amp it up, you stop every once in a while and you ask them to tell you what they heard. What was your favorite part? You tell it back to me. And it's never wrong. I don't care if they go off on a tangent and they add a character into the story, because my daughter would do that. She added characters all the time.
I can see that.
Yeah. It's just not wrong. It's their viewpoint. Same thing with the red marker. Like, if those are ways to stifle writing and to make them hate it, right? If you're constantly pointing out the things that they do wrong, and that goes along with their voice in telling you back what was read to you. If they're giving you a fact that really isn't from the story, then you just say, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that. You know what? I'm going to reread and make sure that that's, where is that? I want to find it. And then you can say, wait a minute, is that really in the story? You can handle it like that. But narration leads to composition. And oral composition can come way before written composition. For them to be able to tell you an original story from their brain in words, or make a video about it, or make an audio clip about it, or sit there alone in their room and tell their stuffed animals or their dog a story, that's huge. It's a huge, powerful thing that your child is doing, and it's not a waste of time.
Yeah, that's the beginning of writing. And when I was a reading coach in an elementary school, all of the kindergarten teachers wanted to get rid of all of the play areas and all the kitchens and all of the make-believe areas in the kindergarten rooms. And I was like, no. Because they are telling stories. They're developing stories. They're developing language. That is the beginning step of writing. Do not take those out. Those need to stay there.
That's the imagination spark.
Yes, that is the huge foundation for everything else that's going to come. Knowing the relationship between, if I can think it, I can say it and tell it, and then I can write it. You know what I mean? Or someone else can write it. If I can't physically hold a pen and write letters yet, I don't know my letters, but my mom can write down my stories that I tell and read them back to me.
So powerful.
And then we have them, and then I don't forget them, and other people can hear them too. It's such a powerful connection when kids can learn that.
This next point kind of goes along with that, where I'm going to tell my story about. So know when formal writing instruction is developmentally appropriate. Okay, formal writing instruction automatically makes me think about essays, high school level, middle school, older middle school. True formal writing instruction. Whenever I think of elementary, I'm always thinking of invented spelling at a younger age. One thing that I loved with younger or kids who have unique abilities, and this might last all the way through elementary school and longer, is them to have inventive spelling. So they draw a picture, or they look at a picture and they write, I'm using air quotes here, they write what they think about the picture underneath it. And to you, it looks like a bunch of gibberish. It looks like nothing. No shape that they wrote looks like a letter. But when you ask them, hey, what does that say? What did you write about? And they tell you, you write it down right underneath in perfect spelling and English and all the things, right? You write it down correctly. And then you say, look what you wrote. This is what that really says. The dog is playing under the tree. They're like, oh my gosh, I did that. And you just, like, I love that era of a child's life, and invented spelling and getting them to connect that. And it can last a long time, I think. Eventually the kids see your modeling, they learn from that in a powerful way. Developmentally appropriate formal writing instruction is going to vary according to the level that your child is on.
Yeah, it's different for every kid. Some kids can handle it really early. Some kids, it takes them a while to get the whole connection and all of that. So knowing that for your own child is definitely one thing you want to consider when you're thinking about writing or choosing curriculum. Our next tip is learn how grammar fits into writing instruction. And this is a big one because I think a lot of parents think they have to be teaching grammar right from the beginning. And really, you're teaching grammar when you are talking. You know, you're showing kids how we structure sentences. And every language is different, you know. In some languages, they put the adjective last and the noun first. It's different. I'm definitely not a language guru. I don't know a lot of languages, but I've had a little bit of Spanish instruction, and I was like, this is so weird. I remember learning that in high school. So just us talking and speaking to our children in correct grammar shows them how grammar is correct in our language. It's not something you have to start teaching like as soon as they start writing.
Yes, and I'm so convicted about this because I have the worst grammar. And I think about this all the time, Jenny, because I edit the podcast. And when I go back and listen, I'm like, we are not grammatically correct. We are just talking to our friends. But you can also keep this mindset in things that you are consuming, YouTube and shows and things like that. You can keep that mindset of pointing out when things are grammatically incorrect or you don't have to be perfect at your grammar. There's those classes on Instagram that they keep feeding me about how to speak more better. And I'm like, that's great. Oh, they must be listening to our podcast. But no, you don't have to be the perfect model, I guess is what I'm saying. Definitely speaking it before writing it is important. And it is okay, just like invented spelling, it is okay for them to have invented grammar. Like I had a couple moms ask me that.
They're going to.
Yeah, they're going to, and that's okay. I have had a couple of moms ask me that, like, no, invented spelling, then they're not doing perfect practice and they're going to never be able to memorize it correctly. But that's not developmentally where they're at. If they're in the invented spelling or invented grammar era, I don't know why I'm choosing that word, but stage, then that's where they're at. And it's not, they're not going to stay there forever. It's just like if they sleep in your bed at night when they're little, eventually they're going to want to sleep in their own bed, okay?
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend grammar. I mean, some kids are ready for it by third grade, but that even seems pretty young to me. I would say late elementary, they can start learning about sentence structure and that kind of thing. But I don't remember learning about it until middle school when I was having to write longer things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's one right answer. I know most people say late elementary is a good time to start it after your child is able to get some sentences down on paper that make sense and go together. There's no reason.
When they're in that more formal writing stage.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to agree with me on this one, Jenny. There is a whole lot of homeschool grammar publishers and curriculum out there.
Oh, yes.
There is a lot of grammar instruction. And if you went to public or private school, I want you to reflect on how much formal grammar instruction you had. Because
I had like zero. I mean, maybe a tiny bit. And I remember diagramming sentences in 6th grade, and that's it.
It was just like woven in, but the homeschool world, for every subject, they're selling a full curriculum. And it's like, sometimes that's just over the top. You just don't.
You're right.
Yeah. And especially developmentally where your kid is at. Okay, and so the next one is your expectation of them. And I really want to dial into this, knowing how to modify. So when you are expecting your kiddo to hold this pencil and write these sentences that exhaust them, it's time for you to look and listen and take the cues that they're giving you and modify. And so the ways that I have done that, I've talked about this before with my son in the past, and I also use this for some kids that I tutor still. It's very empowering for them. So when they're wanting to write something, they're orally composing something, they want to get it down on the paper, and the pencil is in the way, just that action, and there might be some occupational therapy needs that need to be addressed, but maybe it's just exhausting and it makes them tired or they don't like it, whatever. The technology of talk to text is so empowering. It's such a great tool.
It is.
Right? They speak it in. They see their words come across the screen. And when Wyatt was doing this, he's going to be 18 on Sunday. Yay. So when he was doing this, it didn't type out perfectly, which was good, because then he could go back, reread it, and put capitalizations, punctuation, fix the grammatical errors, anything like that into the document, fix the document. So he was also learning editing skills. He used his iPad all the time. He didn't have a PC that did the talk to text thing, but then I could always access it on my phone. If there was a time that we were out and about and he didn't have his iPad, he could add to it on my phone and then edit it later. So then you literally print that out. For me, I have a ton of journals. Sometimes the pages are a glued, printed out document where he used talk to text, and that was his entry for that day. There was not a pencil or a pen in his hand at all for an entire assignment or more than that.
To compose the entire story.
And listen, I want to tell you that you guys know that my kids were big into 4-H, and a lot of it involves giving speeches and presentations, and he won a lot of awards. He is great at composing a speech and a topic to present, even on the fly. Did you see that picture I posted today on Facebook? I think you did, Jenny. Where he's standing up with the microphone in his hand.
Yeah,
so that was at the 4-H awards banquet, his last 4-H awards banquet. And he's a senior, and so they had a special recognition for the seniors. He didn't know he was really the only one that showed up out of the group of 6 of them. So he had a lot of time to fill on the stage, whatever. But they asked him to say a few words. But he was like, oh, okay. He didn't know what he was going to say, but they gave him the mic, and he had so much practice of composing a speech and having to follow through with your thoughts like that. It wasn't a big deal for him. It's empowering, and it's also technology skills that you're teaching your kids. Don't feel like they're cheating or something.
Yeah, right. I know. There's no cheating. It's modifying. It's helping your child succeed. Yes. And some other modifications that we've done with kids too, and I know you've done this, is just to share the pen. Like I did with my son when he was around 7, 8, 9. Sometimes his hand would get tired. It's working really hard. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to write a sentence, you write the next one, and or you write this word, I'll write the next one, or this word was really long and he maybe didn't know how to spell, like, I don't know, some crazy long word, incredible or something. I would write it and then I'd put the pen back to him. So just sharing the pen with your kid as they're developing these skills is another modification you can do, as well as you're like looking over your curriculum and deciding how you're going to do it. Some other ways we've used before too are filling in the blank, just having the sentence structure out and then having them fill in some blanks with the words they want to use or words that would make sense. We've used that with kids too. Sometimes kids have a hard time with a prompt, or they want to start the story. They've told you this amazing thing, and then when you're like, okay, now we're going to put it on paper, it's just a big blank. They
like scared, frozen.
It's like I always talk about it like this huge gap between where I stop talking and then where I have to start writing. They just get lost in this area right here. And so just saying, would you like to start it like this? And then give them a couple words, a sentence starter, a story starter. You told me that, when you were talking to me, you said this, how about if we start it with these couple of words, and you tell them the first couple words, and then it's like, boom, they can continue on. So sometimes you just have to give them more support in certain areas where they're getting stuck. Another area where kids really get stuck too is just the act of handwriting, especially some of your younger students from ages maybe 5 to 8 or 5 to 9. If they haven't had formal handwriting or they're just not good at it, just making the letters and getting them down on paper in a fluent, quick way so that they can, keep their thoughts moving is really hard.
Flow.
So even, what?
Having a flow.
Yes, having a flow is
so it's
very
like automaticity with the letter making.
Right. They're just not fluent yet. Just thinking about handwriting, just helping them write some of the letters that they always get stuck on. Let's say if they always have D's that they're getting stuck on, before you start that particular lesson that day, you practice writing a couple D's, around like a C, up like a D. Maybe I'm having them I was telling Kim that I do this. I have the kids jump on my hand and I take them for a piggyback ride. That's what I call it. I'm going to take you for a ride, jump on my hand, see how this feels to make the letter D around like a C, up like a D. Now I'm going to piggyback on your hand and I want you to make it. And just practicing like a couple things like that, like one letter or two letters they really have a hard time with before you start the writing that day, and then maybe having a picture of it or an index card down in front of you. And then every time they're going to write that letter, point it out like, okay, remember how we're going to do this? You know, those kinds of things to help modify or help support them are very helpful. And if you need help with handwriting, we have a class in our community, the Foundations of Handwriting class. We teach kids exactly how to do all these things and the language of how to do it, like around like a C, up like a D, and little tricks to get them to write their letters correctly.
It's Jenny's class. I got to brag on her for a second, that she used to sell on OutSchool, but now you can only get it in our community. That is a great resource so that you can be consistent with your language in the instruction and you don't have to think about it. I'm excited to use it with one of the kids that I tutor. So I'm going to print out one of the books and keep the words in front of me. And when she's making her B's, I'm going to say exactly what it says on the paper. And so that way, that consistent verbal cue for the child is empowering, and it leads to the automaticity of them making the letter, which leads to the flow of them being able to be successful with written composition.
Yes, it all works together. It all builds on each other. Anytime that you can help a child be more automatic and more fluent, it will be, so good. Whatever it is, writing, reading, math facts, all of it. And our last tip is just to avoid comparing your child's writing to others. Your child is in their space where they're supposed to be, and you're going to meet them there. You're going to provide support with whatever curriculum you choose. You're just going to let them have their own voice and their own way of communicating and support them as much as you can.
Yeah, just as much as you can, point out the positives in the growth that they're making.
Yes.
You know, and hey, you're going to get there. If it's tough, you're going to get there. And I'm here to help you do it. All right, let me review those tips that are going to help you choose the best writing curriculum for your kiddo. And they are: remember that what you're looking for is a relationship between thinking, talking, and writing. Remember that formal writing instruction is based on the developmental level of your kiddo. Keep that in mind before you buy something. Learn how grammar fits into writing instruction for your specific child and the level that they're on. Make sure you're looking for curriculum that is giving realistic expectations based on the age and the readiness of your child, and make sure that it enhances your ability to modify as needed. And the last one, avoid comparing your child's writing to others. Take these tips with you as you are looking at your writing curriculum, and when you need help, we are here for you. We can help you choose curriculum. We can help you modify what you have chosen. You can also reap the benefits of Miss Jenny teaching your kids the Foundation of Handwriting class. Those are pre-recorded quick classes, one for every letter and the printout with the verbal cues. And you can only get that Foundations of Handwriting class in our online community, along with the 24/7 forum and direct messaging to us, where we would help you choose and modify the curriculum, or with any other homeschool struggle that you're having. If this sounds like a support system that you need in your homeschool journey, we invite you to join us in our online community. The beginning of the school year is a great time to get that set up. So go to thehomeschoolwell.com, click Join Our Community for all the details, and we hope to see you soon around the well. Thanks for listening today, and we'll see you next week for another new episode of the podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.